Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about a really exciting announcement that was just released by the government. Building small structures such as garages, sleepouts, garden sheds, anything smaller than 30 square meter is going to get a whole lot easier.
The councils don't want to enforce it, people don't want to follow it, no one benefits, and yet it's a rule that you'd be surprised how many people are irritated by.
If you've been following the 30 square meter building consent exemption rules, you would know this rule is fantastic in theory. But in reality, very small properties could benefit from this rule because of the setback requirement. But now that is changing. Based on what the government announced just a couple of days ago, by the end of this year, which is 2025, you're able to build under 10 square meter structures such as small garden sheds right up against the boundary, and anything between 10 square meter and 30 square meter with just a meter setback from the boundary line. That's a huge shift from the previous rule, which needed you to set back from the boundary line or any other building by the same height as the finished structure from the ground. So let's say you wanted to build an office cabin in your backyard, that the highest point of that building is 3.5 meters from the floor level of that building, which is the maximum allowed under this exemption. And the floor of the building is a meter above the ground level, which is again the maximum allowed under this exemption. The highest point of the finished structure from the ground would be 4.5 meters, and that means that you have to set back from the boundary line and any other structure by 4.5 meters. And very, very few sections have that much space in their backyard. If you're willing to put a cabin right in middle of your backyard lawn, you still don't have room for it. So on the surface, this new rule sounds fantastic, and for many property owners, it absolutely will be. Is this time to start planning? Yes, but I wouldn't rush into making that final decision just yet. Why? Because we haven't seen the regulation text yet, and once the rule is written and released, it will come with its own conditions, and we don't know about those conditions just yet. One of my biggest concerns is how this new rule is going to interact with the existing district planning rules, because in a lot of areas the existing setback requirements are already a lot stricter than what the new rule is going to allow. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. The first example is the lifestyle rural zone in 10th Coromandel district, which is where I live, and naturally I'm familiar with the zones and rules in this area a lot because I've done quite a few projects in this area. So in the lifestyle rural zone, the minimum requirement for the front yard setback is 15 meters, and you're also going to need a minimum of 5 meters side and rear yard. There are also a whole lot of other requirements in place. For example, if your section is beachfront or if you're neighboring a state highway. And now if you're going to go ahead based on the amended section in the Building Act, which allows you to build just a meter from the boundary, you're going to break the district planning rules, and that is not allowed. My second example is the single housing zone in Auckland, which covers a large area of residential in Auckland. And based on the district planning rule in this zone, you need a minimum of 3 meter front yard and a meter side and rear yard. Now you can see when this new rule kicks in, a lot of people in this zone are going to benefit from this rule because now they can build just a meter away from their side or rear boundary line without having to apply for a resource consent or building consent. But whether if they're able to build a meter from the front boundary or not, that is what we don't know just yet. Another important thing to watch out for is private covenants. A lot of lands, and especially the newly subdivided land, when they're being subdivided, they have some rules imposed by the property developer or council or local tribe, which has some limits on where and what you can build. So if you go ahead just based on the Building Act and build something that is not within the limitations of your covenant, you might land into trouble. So make sure you always check your property title and limb report. Make sure what you are allowed to do in your land. Now let's focus on the under 10 square meter structure, which covers a lot of small garden sheds, which the new rule says that you're allowed to build it right on the boundary line. What is the catch? The thing is, when you build something closer than a meter to a boundary line or any other building, you need to put a fire rated wall to stop the risk of spreading fire from one building to another. And a fire rated wall is expensive construction. So this is getting overlooked mostly in the excitement of the new project, but this is something that you have to consider in your budget when you are planning something. If you are planning something to build closer than a meter to any other structure or to the boundary line. Now, let's say you are willing to build a fire rated wall and you want to build right on the boundary line. How are you going to maintain the external cladding of this wall that is on the boundary line? Because now it is only accessible from the neighbor's property, which is not always possible or neighborly. You might say you will build a no maintenance wall like I don't know, color steel corrugated iron cladding. There is no such thing as no maintenance. It will be low maintenance. You still need to maintain it. And the other thing is, what is going to stop the neighbor kid, for example, to take a key or a stone and start doing some artistic work on your cladding, and you don't know you've got scratch on your color steel cladding, and it will start corroding without you even knowing about it. Now you're okay with that. You don't want to do any maintenance. You're not worried about it to get destructed by the neighbors, and you are going to build your structure right on the boundary line. What if your neighbor decides to do the exact same thing? Now you are going to have two walls with a very small gap, or maybe even no gap at all, and that is going to create a whole lot of new and complicated problems. When they are digging for the footing, they might undermine your footing or vice versa. With that no gap, if you need any maintenance, either of you, to do on your wall, that's nearly impossible. And there's going to be a lot of problem with the drainage and moisture when there is no gap or a small gap. So think about all of this practically before deciding to build something right on the boundary line. So yes, this new rule is very exciting. It's going to open a whole new world of possibilities for a lot of property owners, such as people who are in the single housing zone in Auckland, for example. But we need to keep our eyes open. I'm sure when the actual rule comes out, it will come out with its own condition from the government to minimize the risk and the new problems that might happen. In the meantime, if you're thinking of planning ahead, or if you have a big section that you can already build a structure under 30 square meter, but you don't know how, I have a range of construction drawings that I sell the drawings on my TradeMe store. I will put a link to to my TradeMe store in the description below. feel free to check it out and see if there's anything suitable for you. I'm also working on a lot of new designs and sizes. So if there's any size that you think I'm missing in my listing, feel free to drop a comment below and I will have a look at it. I will also make an updated video about the actual conditions of the new rule when it comes out. So if you want to stay updated, make sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button to get the notification every time I release a new video. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.